think we're gonna win. Do you?
The jurors will be studying you for signs. If you two don't feel it, neither will the jury. Are you devoted, Grace?
Why were you there that night, outside her apartment?
What are you asking me?
Welcome back. If you have seen episode 5 of The Undoing, what an episode. Who saw that coming? We've got lots to talk about. So the big scene where we find out that Henry has the hammer, the murder weapon, in his violin case is such a big moment, and we're not really sure at this point whether he knew it was in there or whether he's trying to protect someone, be it his father or his grandfather or even himself. And so it reveals lots of questions, but it would make sense that a child of that age would try to protect a family member, whoever that family member is. He wants to keep everybody together and he needs his family around him, so he would do whatever is necessary to protect them. Some studies have shown children lying from about the age of 30 months, but children who are lying in a more sophisticated way don't do that until about the age of 4, when brain development brings children to the place where they can hold that in memory, they understand that somebody else might have a different thought pattern to them. That's called theory of mind. So lying and keeping secrets is quite a complex cognitive task. So around the age of 4, brain development allows that to happen. Well, it's for the same reasons as most grown-ups. It's about avoiding punishment, avoiding abandonment and rejection, although those abandonments are mostly aimed towards parents. So children are vulnerable without their parents, so they focus on trying to keep family together. Children also lied to protect other people. So we find out in one of the episodes that Henry's actually seen Jonathan with Elena but chose not to tell his mother about it. And we kind of get the idea that perhaps he's trying to protect his mother, but also trying to keep his parents together and keep his family together. It would be understandable for someone of that age to fear their parents splitting up or one of them disappearing.
I wanted to tell you. I wanted to tell you, but I felt like he trusted me.
Traumatic experiences like that can influence a child's future as they go into adulthood. It can disrupt our ability to regulate our emotions, and it can disrupt our stress response. So in this episode, we hear about Jonathan's story that actually his sister died rather than the family dog that caused his estrangement from the family.
I didn't kill the family dog. We never had a dog. I had a sister. I killed the family sister.
And it opens up the possibility that maybe Jonathan is the victim in this. Maybe he was the child who was part of an accident and then blamed unfairly or shamed by some cruel parents. We don't know the context around the parents and how they behave towards their children. So in the case of Jonathan, he doesn't seem to have any particular problems regulating his emotions or his stress response. He seems to conduct himself very well, charming even, around other people. So it doesn't seem to be that he has been negatively affected by this extreme trauma. That makes us question whether the other possibility is true, his mother's interpretation that actually he doesn't show any remorse or compassion for other people.
The grief and the guilt and Jonathan growing up with that, did he ever get professional help?
He did not. He suffered from neither. From guilt, nor grief. We kept waiting for it. We surrounded him with family support, certain that once the shock wore off, the suffering would begin, but it never did. Jonathan doesn't know how to suffer.
So we really start to question at this point, could Jonathan be a sociopath? A sociopath is a term used for an antisocial personality disorder, which would involve showing little or no remorse for other people, being unable to feel compassion or empathy for other people, often manipulative behaviours as well. And we see all of these in Jonathan's behaviour seem to creep in different episodes. So it's possible that Jonathan could be incapable of experiencing remorse. That might explain scenes like his confession on television about his love for Elena, seemingly not caring about the impact that might have on his wife. So you might ask whether someone is born a sociopath or whether Jonathan's experiences as a child could have influenced that. And the answer is a combination of both. There could be a genetic factor involved, but also childhood trauma, severe childhood neglect or abuse is also a significant part of that story. This is a really interesting set of behaviours that we see from Jonathan, including this grandiosity and the charm that whoever he's speaking to, he makes them feel special and they have no reason not to trust him. They each feel that they have a good relationship with him. Elena probably felt loved by him, but his wife did also, and his son. And I'm sure the people that he worked with in the hospital felt good too. I think these behaviours are not common for everybody. It seems to be that someone like Jonathan is few and far between, and most people would perhaps be a little bit more genuine, a little bit more authentic in their connections and their relationships. But certainly, people-pleasing and trying to make a connection with the person in front of you is something that we all do. What an episode Grace has had. Her husband may be a murderer, her son is in possession of the murder weapon. It's a lot to handle. So let's talk about Grace for a minute. A really normal reaction to such a traumatic experience might be numbness, agitation, confusion, and exhaustion. And we certainly see that scene in which Grace goes home and it's a very small moment that she's alone for and she sort of collapses on the bed, exhausted, and that would be a normal reaction. We see Grace almost seeming as if she's in denial for some part of it. She's certainly in shock. She seems to do what she can to carry on and keep this perfect life going to a certain degree. And she's very focused on protecting her son, which makes absolute sense. She's in survival mode, she is full of adrenaline, she's just focused on making sure her son is safe and well. And then there's also these moments of what we call bargaining, where she's going to and fro. What if it was different? What if he didn't do it? What if he's innocent? What if he's guilty? And going back and forth, trying to make out what the new real actually is. The bargaining process is a normal part of a grief response, a healthy grief response that we would see in anyone who has lost something. Other more general responses to such a traumatic experience might be disturbed sleep, nightmares, constant anxiety and agitation, confusion about what is real and what's not real. These sorts of acute stages when everything is still happening around you can cause very intense stress that can be really difficult for people to manage. So all of these things, so your denial, the shock, the bargaining, anger and depression, they're all normal parts of what we would call a healthy grief response. So if somebody loses something or someone that's important to them, you would expect them to go around that cycle several times before starting to heal. And actually she's in the very center of it all. It's all still happening to her and she's still losing more and more aspects of her life. So she's going to be going around those early stages of shock and denial for a long time yet. Grace's life is starting to unravel. So here are my top tips on how to cope when the world seems like it's falling apart. Get some support, whether it's a friend, a family member, or a professional. If times are hard, it's crucial that you feel supported and you've got a safe space to talk about it. Don't expect yourself to take on everything that you normally take on. It's time to prioritize the things that are most important. Don't plan too far in advance. Just focus on the next right move. Focus on getting some good self-care, so sleep and good diet are going to help you to stay resilient. Exercise is one of the best things you can do for your mental health. It helps you to build your resilience, think clearly so that you can problem solve, and it gives you a boost of mood. There's lots to think about this week. Is Jonathan a sociopath? And is Henry a murderer? And will Grace stand by Jonathan? What is the truth? With all this web of lies and deceit, who can tell?
I'm willing to testify. I'm just gonna tell the truth.
But what is your truth?
Could he have gone there that night for some reason?
Are you actually accusing our son?
Should this come to light, it is game over.
You discovered Elena, Elvis. You didn't call the police?
I panicked, you see, I panicked.
Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth? The whole truth and nothing but the truth?
You should be ashamed!
Please answer the question, Doctor.